All right, this is a video on why cold DMs don't actually work anymore. In my opinion, they're completely dead, but not for the reason you think. Basically, after sending over 100,000 plus DMs, on LinkedIn, having over 10,000 plus conversations, booking over 4,000 plus meetings, now I can officially say that they're dead. But let me actually explain why is that. So I'll go ahead and share my screen and kind of go over this. But I got this idea, for this video after receiving a DM this morning. And the person was like, "Hi, Greg, if there was a strategy, that could help you get 15 qualified appointments, on a monthly basis without using ads or DMs, would you be open to hearing me out? P.S. We don't get paid if you don't get results." Now, this is actually a good message. In fact, this was the exact type of messages, that I used to send, back in 2024. And it got me over 712 meetings. Now, there's a reason why, this kind of like DM does not actually work. So we'll go over like in this video, like what are the different reasons why, I believe that this method is kind of like dead. So let's actually go through it. I'll go ahead and like write at the same time so that we can kind of see, what I mean. So yeah, let's do it. Okay, so pick the color. I'm gonna put red for this one. Okay, cool. So let's start with like the first point in this case. And for me, like the first one, let me make this smaller. The first one, in my opinion, is that this is a one-way DM process. So basically, like you go ahead and like send this message, and the aim is then to go ahead and go on the call straight away in this case. So you send a message, and then at the end, you basically go ahead and go on a Zoom meeting. That's a one-way DM process. And it works extremely well because at this point, like there's not a lot of friction. So it's super easy for that person to get on the call, but there are a lot of consequences, to basically making it easy for someone to book a call. The first thing is you'll notice that like whenever you get on a call with someone where you sent like a message like this is what I would say a no-brainer message, so the guy was like, "Hey, so there was a strategy that could help you get ideal outcome," which is good, "without using ads or DMs." So without get ideal outcome, without the typical thing, that you're used to. So not ads, not DMs. Would you be open to hearing me out? So he's basically saying like, he's not asking for a call, which is like pretty good. So he's saying like, would you be open to hearing me out? So he's not saying like, "Hey, let's go on a meeting." P.S. We don't get paid if you don't get results. So this is a no-brainer message. But the thing that like no-brainer messages, really does to you is that the main thing that got them on the call was curiosity. So they're in a state, where they're super, super curious about your offer. So they're like, okay, so I don't have to pay, and at the same time, like he gets me my most ideal outcome. So what you'll notice is that whenever you have like a lot of curiosity, as a result, you end up getting a lot of like replies. So your reply rate ends up being super high. So a message like this, I can guarantee you that the way that he like sets it up, he's probably at around like a 20 to 30% reply rate. When we were doing this type of message, that was like kind of like our numbers. So basically 20 to 30% of people actually respond. And then from there, he goes ahead and like probably sends them a calendar, wants to say yes, But since the only thing that got them on the call was curiosity, that then means that when you go on Zoom, they're in a state where they're just curious. They're not like convinced or pre-sold. They're not like, okay, this is amazing. They're like, okay, let me actually hear out what this guy, has to do. And the person literally has to be in the right state of mind in order for them to like buy. Obviously they responded because there was a problem, that they had in the first place. But at this point, they're just curious, And when a curious prospect goes on Zoom, what ends up happening is basically the objection fest. So you end up having to like handle a bunch of different objections, you know, and the only thing that you do is like you ask questions, and then at the end you basically just like go over handling objection. And as a result of that, what you'll notice, so actually go here, is you typically get from there anywhere from like, unless you're an amazing closer, you know, and you're like really good at what you do, you know how to basically like close people in a good manner, let's say, basically your close rate will be 10%. So that means that like that message got a lot of meanings, but only like 5 to 10% of those people actually become a client because they're stuck in that curiosity phase in this case. So basically these are the reasons why like this type of DMs do not work. They work in a sense where they will get you the meeting, yes, 100%, but they most likely will not get you the client. Now you kind of have to like decide what game, you know, you want to play in this case. So let's actually go here. And basically like the game that I want to personally play is a game where I don't have to be slick, you know, with the words. I don't have to basically like try to convince someone on a call. I want people to basically be pre-sold. I want them to be pre-sold already. So as a result, that means that if you make it easy for them to go on a call and you basically leverage like a one-way DM process like this. So from message to Zoom, then there's no way they're going to be pre-sold, even if you send them like material. What I typically do is I basically like add more friction to make sure that it's way, way harder for them to go ahead and go on a call. So I basically like add more friction on purpose. So in this case, I might like, instead of asking for them to like, hey, are you open to hearing me out? You know, I might send them like a piece of content, you know, that basically makes them, that shows them exactly how we do what we do in this case. You know, I typically call this a phantom DM. So let's say we send a phantom DM first. Then from there, I want to make sure that they go through like a qualification form. So basically like we go ahead and qualify them to make sure that it's hard for them to also go on the call in this case. And then from there, I might have like other pieces of content, you know, that I'm sending, whether it's like a video or another document or something like this. But you basically want to make it hard for people to go ahead and go on the call with me. That way, when I talk to them on Zoom and we go on that Zoom call, then obviously less people actually go on that call, you know. So we might get like, instead of getting like, I don't know, this kind of message, you know, typically got us anywhere from 3 to 5 meetings a day. So I could assume that this guy probably is booking like around 25 meetings a week. That puts him at around like, I'm just guessing here, by the way, but this was like the numbers that we used to do. So anywhere from like 80 to 100 sales calls, you know, on a monthly basis. So instead of like doing that, because that's hell, we basically go ahead and talk to like 5 to 10 on a weekly basis. And then from there, the close rate ends up becoming a lot higher. So instead of like talking to closing like 10% of people, you basically end up closing from 30 to 40% of people. That's basically like how I choose, you know, to play the game. We literally went from, let me actually show you. Took this from, we literally went from like 712 calls with cold leads to basically booking over 389 calls in this case. In the span of 218 days, but we're probably going to end up the year with around like 450. It's currently November in this case. But yeah, basically like we're booked less calls, but those calls, you know, were prospects that were pre-sold in this case. And it makes like, it's completely different. It's night and day. And even like the way you feel running the business is way better because you don't have to sit on a bunch of calls, you know, and you don't have to sit on like I mean, you don't have to try to over convince people, because the thing that really kills you, when you do like outreach on LinkedIn is like the convincing. It's like handling objections and people really doubting you. I hated the way that I felt on those calls, and that's why I switched, from this model, where I booked like 712 calls, to the other one where I booked 489, and yeah, basically was talking to better prospects. So that's basically it, for this video. If you want my help, you can just go ahead and check out like the links below. You'll see like different things, that we can help with, different resources as well. Then you can subscribe, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.